In 1817, in the small farming community of Adams, Tennessee, something arrived at the home of John Bell. It stayed for 4 years. It spoke, it attacked, it sang, it made promises, and it kept every single one of them. Tennessee is the only state in America that has officially recognized a person's death as caused by a supernatural entity. That person was John Bell. This is his true story. John Bell was a prosperous farmer and a respected man. He migrated from North Carolina in 1804 with his wife Lucy and their children. For over a decade, they lived quietly on their farm on the banks of the Red River. Crops grew, children thrived, life was ordinary. Then, in 1817, John Bell spotted something in his field, an animal he had never seen before. It looked like a dog, but it had the head of a rabbit. He raised his rifle and fired. The animal did not fall. It simply looked at him and disappeared into the trees. That night, the sounds began. Knocking on the walls, chains dragging across the floorboards, something gnawing at the bedposts in the dark. The Bell family lay awake listening. John Bell told no one. He assumed there was a rational explanation. He was wrong. Within weeks, the sounds had grown louder. Something was pulling bed covers off the children while they slept. A presence was moving through the house that nobody could see. And then, from somewhere in the darkness, a voice began to whisper. This is where the story truly begins. By 1818, the entity had found its voice. At first, it was a whisper, barely audible, lips moving in the darkness but no body attached to them. Then it grew stronger, clearer, until it could be heard in every room of the house simultaneously. Neighbors began arriving to witness the phenomenon for themselves. Word had spread throughout Robertson County. People camped on the Bell farm by the hundreds hoping to hear it. And they did. The voice spoke freely to visitors. It quoted scripture. It recited hymns from memory. It answered questions about the Bible with a depth and precision that stunned local ministers. But toward John Bell, it showed only hatred. It called him Old Jack Bell. It cursed him. It mocked him. It slapped him across the face in front of witnesses, leaving visible marks on his skin. It pulled his shoes off his feet. It twisted his jaw until he could not eat or speak. Night after night, it returned to torment him specifically, and him alone. His wife Lucy it treated with affection. It brought her fruit. It sang to her. It called her the most perfect woman on earth. John Bell's daughter Betsy bore the next greatest suffering. The voice struck her so violently that neighbors who witnessed it wept. She was beaten unconscious multiple times. Her hair was pulled from her head. She was pinched and scratched by something nobody could see. Investigators who came to the farm left shaken. None of them could explain it, and none of them could stop it. Then news reached the farm that a very important visitor was on his way, a man who had heard the stories and refused to believe them. His name was Andrew Jackson, the future president of the United States. Andrew Jackson owned property near the Red River and had heard the stories circulating about the Bell farm. He was a military man, a skeptic, a man who had faced cannon fire and lived. He was not afraid of ghost stories. He rode to Adams with a group of men, including a self-proclaimed witch slayer who boasted he had the tools to expose the fraud. As Jackson's wagon approached the farm, something stopped the horses dead in their tracks. The wheels locked. The horses refused to move, no matter how hard the men whipped them. Jackson himself stepped down to examine the wheels. He found nothing wrong. Then, from somewhere along the road, a voice called out clearly, "All right, General, you can move on now." The wheels turned freely. The horses moved without resistance. Jackson reportedly turned to his men and said, "I would rather fight the entire British Army than deal with this Bell witch." That night, the entity demonstrated exactly why. The witch slayer boasted loudly at dinner. He challenged the witch directly. He said, "Come out and show yourself." Something threw him across the room. He scrambled to his feet and announced his special silver bullet. He claimed the witch would not be able to touch him. He was immediately grabbed by an unseen force and dragged. He screamed. He begged. He was released only when he promised to leave and never return. He rode out before sunrise. Andrew Jackson stayed one more night. He witnessed more than enough. When he left Adams, he told people, "I have faced many things in my life, but nothing like that. Nothing." Jackson never returned to the farm, but the witch remained, and its primary target, John Bell, was getting weaker. From the moment it first spoke, the Bell Witch had one stated goal: to kill John Bell. By 1820, John Bell was a broken man. The years of nightly torment had destroyed his health. His jaw seized without warning. He suffered violent convulsions that left him unable to rise from his bed for days at a time. Neighbors who had known him for decades described a man who had aged 20 years in 3. His eyes were hollow. His body was thin. Whatever was happening to him was happening from the inside. On the night of December 19, 1820, John Bell lost consciousness and did not wake. His son John Jr. went to the cupboard the following morning to retrieve his father's medicine. The 3 medicine vials he had stored there were gone. In their place was a single vial, 1/3 full of a dark, smoky liquid that nobody recognized. Nobody knew where it had come from. Before anyone could decide what to do, the voice spoke. It said, "It is useless for you to try to save old Jack. I have got him this time. He will never get up from that bed again. I put that there. And I gave old Jack a big dose of it last night while he was asleep, which fixed him." John Bell died on December 20th, 1820. A small amount of the liquid from the vial was given to the family cat. The cat died within minutes. The state of Tennessee, in its official historical record, recognized the Bell Witch as the cause of John Bell's death. Tennessee remains to this day the only state in America to have officially attributed a person's death to a supernatural entity. The family buried John Bell, and then something happened at the funeral that nobody who was there ever forgot. The Bell Witch attended, and it sang, not hymns, not prayers, cheerful drinking songs, loud and clear throughout the entire ceremony, as if celebrating. Then it made a promise. It would return in 7 years, and it did. In 1817, something arrived at the Bell farm. It stayed 4 years. It killed a man. And before it left, it made a promise. It said it would return in 7 years. In 1828, it came back. It visited John Bell's son Joel for 2 weeks. It made predictions about the future. Then it left again, saying it would return in 107 years. That would be 1935. The family living on that land at the time moved away without explanation. They left without saying goodbye to their neighbors. Nobody confirmed why. Today, the Bell Witch Cave still stands on the original property in Adams, Tennessee, largely unchanged from 1820. Visitors report cold spots, equipment failures, voices captured on recordings with no source. Robert Bell, a 5th-generation grandson of John Bell, says strange things have followed the family for generations. He says they have learned to live with it. Historians, investigators, skeptics, all have studied this case. All have reached the same conclusion. Something happened to the Bell family that cannot be fully explained. The question that has never been answered, the one that has kept this story alive for over 200 years, is simple. What did John Bell do to deserve it? The witch never said. Not clearly, not honestly, but it kept its promise. John Bell's grave is still there in Adams, Tennessee. People visit it. Some say they feel something standing beside them when they do. Over 200 years later, the name still carries weight. Bell Witch. Subscribe for a new true story every week.